Last is the Laws of Thermodynamics. Book number 5 is called Entropy by Jeremy Rifkin. This was published in 1981, but he wrote it about the first 2 laws of thermodynamics, which were discovered in 1868. This connects physics to the environment and economics. The first law of thermodynamics states that matter and energy can never be created or destroyed. They can only change form. The universe is about 30 billion light years in diameter, so it's not infinitely large and it's not infinitely hot. That means it can't possibly contain an infinite supply of energy. That means the Earth or the Sun can't contain an infinite supply of energy. The second law of thermodynamics states that disorder tends to increase. That's just a complicated way of saying everything wears out eventually. Whenever anything happens in the universe, it makes stuff move from areas of high concentration to areas of low concentration more than they move from areas of low concentration to areas of high concentration. This is why the soles of your shoes wear out over time. With every step you take, friction is rubbing molecules off the soles of your shoes and turning them into a trail of microscopic dust that follows you everywhere you go. There's nothing anyone can do about that. If you walked everywhere sweeping up the dust of your shoes with a broom, the broom would be wearing out. So what are you going to do about that? Sweep up that broom with another broom? But that broom would be wearing out too. This is what creates non-renewable resources and also makes unbalanced environments break down. Oil or aluminum or whatever minerals you want to dig up from the ground start out in high concentrations. When you dig them up and use them, you spread them out through the world. When you burn oil, you release the energy that's stored in it. Eventually, the energy radiates out into space, and it's gone forever. Then you have to go find more oil to drill somewhere else. If you throw an aluminum can in the garbage, it gets mixed in with all the other garbage. Then it will be easier to go mine some more aluminum out of the ground than it would be to dig through a garbage dump looking for cans. But if you recycle your aluminum cans, then you end up with a whole bunch of aluminum in one place again that isn't buried underground and is ready to melt down and turn into something else. Of course, some people do dig through garbage looking for things that can be recycled. You don't need to own a lot of mining equipment to be able to do that, but you don't make much money doing that either, do you? Entropy is not only the source of destruction, it's also the source of diversity. An even easier way of looking at it is, the more change you add to a group of things, the more different results you'll get. When you added friction to the soles of your shoes, the molecules of your shoes went from being concentrated in your shoes to spread out everywhere you walked. Likewise, every song you've ever heard is a different way someone has found to build upon the basic idea of a song. And so it goes with cultures, skin colors, and everything else that's different among people. They're all different variations on basic things we all have in common. Destruction is going to win in the end because all life on Earth depends on energy from the sun, and the sun is going to burn out in about 5 billion more years from now. The question of environmental sustainability or unsustainability is a question of whether we're going to figure out how to live within the cycles of the world's environment, or we're going to destroy them and make the Earth uninhabitable to us. That's the idea behind localized organic agriculture. We get a constant supply of energy from the sun, we use that energy to grow our food, and then we don't depend on oil to transport it and preserve it. The closer you live to where the food is produced, the less energy it takes to transport it. Now, where in the world was the highest form of organic agriculture developed? southern Mexico. Farmers there developed what they called the milpa, which is a field where they grow a dozen crops at once. If you try growing only one crop at a time in a field, you're going to deplete your soil nutrients because all the plants in the field are going to use the same nutrients. You started out with a bunch of different chemicals and chemical cycles happening in your soil, and then you came along and planted all the same kind of plant in the soil and used up a few of those chemicals. So the depletion of soil nutrients is the second law of thermodynamics, wearing out your farmland. That's why farmers have figured out the idea of rotating their crops and letting their fields lie fallow every few years to keep from wearing out their soil. A milpa, on the other hand, is a dozen crops all growing in a field at the same time, so the plants are using different nutrients out of the soil and decomposing each other when they die. In some places, farmers have planted milpas in the same field every year for 4,000 years. If you grow just one crop in a field, it's easy to build a tractor that you can use to work that field and increase its food productivity. But a milpa is a combination of plants that grow each other. So the farmers who plant milpas are applying the Gaia theory to farming. If they can keep planting the same crop in a field every year for thousands of years, it means they've figured out a way to farm that keeps the chemical cycles in their soil in balance. Now, with the NAFTA, who are losing their family farms? The farmers in southern Mexico. The people with the tractors are coming in and ripping out their milpas and planting single crops, and they say that's good because that increases the productivity of the farmland. Well, that increases the yearly productivity of the farmland. But is that really increasing the productivity of the land? If you grow a lot of food on a farm for 50 years and then deplete the soil, or you grow not quite as much food on a farm for 4,000 years and still have good soil, which farm is more productive? The tractor farm produces more money in a year, but the world doesn't revolve around money. You can have a society without money, but you can't have a society without food production. The people who went to college to learn how to take farmers' farms have the philosophy that the world is supposed to revolve around money, and they've decided that making money for themselves is good, and that anyone who doesn't agree with them is either evil or doesn't know any better. So either way, they believe those people need to be punished.